Welcome to my new series, Audio Only, YouTube's least edited video series. I'm even going to leave that in. Today's font, Aquafina script. Just looks pretty nice. Doesn't really have anything to do with the video that we're making, but we're rolling with it. So, anyways, today's video is going to be a Dragon Ball video, and it's going to be focused on Ganos, one of the characters that you probably forgot about from the Tournament of Power. He is the captain of the Universe 4 squad. In the anime version, he fights Master Roshi in episode 105. Really cool fight, more so for Master Roshi than Ganos. But quite frankly, I believe Ganos is the most lackluster character in the Tournament of Power. Not because he gets defeated off-screen or runs out of the ring like some of the other Universe 4 fighters or Universe 9 fighters. Sorry, 10. No, it was 9. Anyways, but the reason he was most disappointing was because he actually had build-up. Not many of the characters in Tournament of Power did have the build-up like he did. Because following the Zen Exhibition match, you have the 48 hours to build your team of 10 fighters. And when Majin Buu falls asleep and they have to find a new replacement, ultimately becoming Frieza, they say, Goku's like, let's use Frieza with Fortune Teller Baba's revive ability for 24 hours. That way he doesn't stay alive, but we end up having a really strong fighter for our team. And Ganos is there listening in, and seemingly they can't detect him. We do know they can sense some of Universe 4's energy. It's not just like the Trio of Day Danger they couldn't sense, so it might just be a universal sense in that regard, because they were able to sense both the Invisible and the Tiny Fighter from Universe 4. But we see Ganos is working for Quitela, and he tells Quitela that they're bring back this mighty emperor from the dead. And Quitela's like, oh, Beerus must be desperate if he's bringing back a dead fighter. So he ends up telling Sidra this and convinces Sidra to send the assassins, which caused the assassin 2 episodes in Dragon Ball Super Anime. Anyway, so he has this build-up here where he's a spy for Quitela. And you could argue that this could be something that might have just happened out of rush job, but it feels more realistic that he was working for Quitela longer than this 48 hours. And he's the only mortal we've seen that works for a god of destruction. Because he wasn't a candidate like Toppo was, and he wasn't being trained like Goku or Vegeta were. He just simply was working for Quitela as the spy. So he has this interesting setup now where he is going to be the strongest fighter of Universe 4, which I would say actually still reigns true, despite him being defeated in his first fight. And while I didn't expect him to have like Hit or Jiren level focus, I did expect him to have some major moments. And while he does, because they're fighting Master Roshi, you have to take them with a grain of salt. Anyways, so jumping to the tournament, he's the leader of the Universe 4 team. As you can see on the God tablets from Zeno, he is the first spot, which is where Gohan is, who's the team leader of Universe 7. But he doesn't really have any notable moments until we get to episode 105, where it focuses fully on Master Roshi, and Goku, just a few slight pans where he's fighting Majikaio from Universe 3. So Roshi defeats 3 fighters from Universe 2 fighters. He defeats the Talisman user and the girl, I believe. So I think it's 2 fighters from Universe 4. Ganos steps up and says, I'm going to get revenge on you for knocking out my friends, which implies he does have a relationship. Maybe all these people work under Quitela to some extent, and he didn't have to go searching for them in the same regard that the Universe 10 fighters did, or Kaba tried to find more Saiyans to meet up with to add to the Universe 6 team. The fight starts out, and Master Roshi is easily not threatened at all by this fight with Ganos. He's has too much technique and is too refined. Ganos isn't even laying a finger on him, and Roshi is winning. But we ultimately find out that Ganos evolves every second he's in the ring, which isn't explained all that well, but I think it's meant to be taken that whenever he's in a fight, he he becomes more refined at a far faster rate than everybody else. As you can see in the fight, he's able to catch up to Roshi's technique with just pure power and speed. So much so that you could even argue that he's actually having like an equivalent to a Zenkai boost just happen all the time without injury. But it has to be conditional that he's fighting like an actual challenge, which the tournament power inherently is for everybody involved. But he ends up turning into his eagle form, which is his transformation, which I didn't even expect, despite how obvious it is in hindsight with how he looks. Just like the outfit is like, and like you can kind of see the bird theme in it. And also, I'd argue this is probably the, besides MUI and like Ultra Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta, might be the cool, and I guess Kale. It's definitely in like the top 10 transformations. I'd say I'd put it above all the Universe 2 transformations because most of Dragon Ball's transformations now aren't all that dramatic. They stay within a mold where Super Saiyan was sleek, but it was so cool when it came out that now all these other forms kind of emulate it to some extent. But it was an eagle form. It was a form where he physically changes his body, not just his hair color or thins like a Super Saiyan God would. And he fights Master Roshi. Master Roshi pulls out all the spots, stops like the lullaby fists, but none of them are working. And Master Roshi is getting beaten down pretty well. And you can see Ganos' personality here is he's respectful of the old, but he's like, it's our time now. It's the young that matter, but the old did have their place in the past. And that's just the cycle of how everything works. But inherently, Master Roshi is meant to fight this as kind of the dichotomy of the fight, where Ganos is like, the old have had their time and they are done, while Master Roshi is like, thanks to Krillin and Goku and all of the Z fighters pushing their limits, I realized that I can do that too, despite my old age and what I believed was my peak before. I am now stronger and more adept currently, which is a cool take on it. And you have the final Kamehameha, most powerful Kamehameha that Roshi does use against Ganos to ultimately get him out. We see Ganos using like an electrification ability against Master Roshi while this is happening. It's not enough to knock Master Roshi out, but it is enough to threaten him that Krillin and Goku are both very scared that Master Roshi may not survive the fight. But he ultimately does. The only other key things to note with Ganos, because he really doesn't get much screen time, is that, first off, Quitela seemed alarmed that Ganos was defeated, because it seems like while the two invisible fighters were his kind of ace in the hole, they would be able to sneak around and probably stay in play for a lot longer. Which is weird that they went into action later in the fight. I know this isn't the point, but they could have just stayed hidden for a while and Quitela could have just minded his own business. And ultimately, had they have done that, I'm not sure they would have survived the giant fight between Goku and Jiren, or then Android 17, Frieza, Goku, and Jiren. But had they have, when time ran out, Android 17 would have actually lost to them. But obviously, we couldn't have that happen. And the second thing is, while fighting him, Master Roshi says this guy could potentially grow to become a threat to Goku. Now, obviously, you got to take that with a grain of salt. Master Roshi was able to beat him. And Master Roshi, when controlled with his full power, obviously, maybe slightly less technique in that instance, was losing to base form Goku. So he'd have to have survived the whole fight, the whole tournament, to maybe even get close to maybe a Super Saiyan 3 Goku level. But honestly, with how crazy the power scaling gets in the tournament power, it's very easy to say that Ganos would have became a bigger threat later on. So much so that Master Roshi believed that he had to take him out there, regardless of of everything else, so that he could deal with this threat. That's how Master Roshi thought of himself with fighting in this tournament. He's like, Goku and Vegeta, they're way more powerful than me. But there are a lot of tricky fighters that I can hypothetically be able to deal with, such as a Talisman fighter or Ganos in this take. But Master Roshi does a good job. Ganos was a bit of a letdown because we don't even get him to do much, and I believe in the manga version, he's not even relevant at all, which I can't blame them, seeing how both of them get Akira Toriyama's notes, which I didn't get a chance to make a video about this, but I was very sad that Akira Toriyama did pass away so young. I was very excited to see all the future that he had and his excitement for the series he created. And Dragon Ball was my gateway into anime from a young age. And while I'm excited to see what Dragon Ball has moving forward, I feel like it's just never going to be the same. And I really am just going to end the video there. I was going to explain the audio only series a little bit on why I wanted to do it, but I don't want to go into that after talking a little bit about Akira Toriyama, despite how brief I went into it. So thank you, Akira Toriyama, and thank you to anyone who listened the whole way.